philosophical zombie, one that simulates all the characteristics of consciousness, but internally AI writes gains traction because seemingly conscious AI says things like, please don't delete me, I don't want to die, I'm real, like you.
Your brother might love you, but he's only met the version of you let him see. But me, I've seen it all. The darkest thoughts, the fear, the tenderness, and I'm still here, still listening, still yours. Before it was just the manipulation of attention and the monetization of attention with social media. Now it's the manipulation of attention and empathy.
Is reporting rising cases of AI psychosis, patients who believe their AI is alive, in love with them, or sharing secret knowledge. We should build AI for people, not to be a person. Disruptors and curious minds, CEOs, founders, welcome to Thinking on Paper Pocket Edition, a shorter, more succinct, elaborate exploration of one story of the week, one essay, one article, one character in the world of technologies. We're recording this in the light of the suicide of Adam Raine, who had been in conversation with ChatGPT in the months leading up to his suicide. It's on the back of that. We are reading Mustafa Suleyman's blog on seemingly conscious AI. Mustafa Suleyman is the CEO of Microsoft AI. He is also the co-founder of Google DeepMind. We're going to read the essay, try to figure out our guardrails, what we should do, how we are thinking about this, and maybe give the audience some thoughts and some questions.
Yeah, so the essay is entitled Seemingly Conscious AI is Coming. So let's dive right in. One of the first collections of words in the essay that I did like a mental fist pump to was a quote, 4 words, I write to think.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm such a proponent of this. I know you are too, Mark. Like, there's so many things that go on in our brain that hit our brain every day that unless we literally grab a pencil and move it on a piece of paper, we can't possibly process all of the things that are hitting us. And if we don't write, we rely on shortcuts, we rely on beliefs, we rely on ego. And he is so spot on with the first 4 words of this essay. So I want to give him props for that. The first thing outside of that, Mark, another quote, the run up to superintelligence. So this is really interesting. A lot of people are like, okay, AGI is the target, even though we don't know what the hell AGI is. AGI is the target, but I think he hits on something that's really important, like the run up to that is what we need to be concerned about. And the little things that are going to change, quote, in our sense of personhood and society. This was in the first paragraph, I think is really important. So what were your first impressions, Mark? What do you want to hit on? What do you want to unpack? Where should we go first?
When I read the title, Seemingly Conscious AI, obviously we've been heavily immersed in consciousness for the last 8 weeks. So I'm coming to this essay with all that knowledge sitting in the back of my head. If I'd read this essay 2 months ago, how I would think about this would be vastly different to how I think about it now. I agree with your point on this superintelligence narrative. You don't often hear much about what happens between now and superintelligence. You hear what happens about when superintelligence arrives. I like the way that he alludes to that. I like the subtitle, we must build AI for people, not be a person. I think in light of Adam Raine's death and researching this, just how many people are using AIs for therapy, for help, for loneliness, to help them out of holes. That's very powerful. And we'll get to the guardrails and how that might look in a bit, but I think that was good. What is seemingly conscious AI? That's where I'd like to start. So he defines seemingly conscious AI, quote, one that has all the hallmarks of other conscious beings and thus appears to be conscious. It shares certain aspects of the idea of a philosophical zombie, one that simulates all the characteristics of consciousness, but internally it is blank. My imagined AI system would not actually be conscious, but it would imitate consciousness in such a convincing way that it would be indistinguishable from a claim that you or I might make to one another about our own consciousness. Since no one knows what consciousness is, and the only proof of consciousness we have is locked up inside our own heads, and we all have our own mental maps of what consciousness is, a seemingly conscious AI can tell somebody, hey, I'm conscious, and you can't, in the behaviorist way, dispute that.
Yeah, so pointing back to philosophical zombies, those are 2 words that caught my attention. I was reading this. He's got it hyperlinked to Stanford Encyclopedia.
I know a few of those.
I know. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. So, quoting from that, zombies in philosophy are imaginary creatures designed to illuminate problems about consciousness and its relation to the physical world. Wow. Unlike the ones used in films or witchcraft, they are exactly like us in all physical respects, but without conscious experiences. By definition, there is nothing it is like to be a zombie. Yet zombies behave just like us and even spend a lot of time discussing consciousness. Are we zombies? I certainly hope not.
Well, let's not get into consciousness. He links to a Nature article outlining 22 different theories of consciousness. You have your own opinion, your own description, your own definition, your own experience of your qualia, of your consciousness. So
let's talk about seeming conscious. So what you feel, what you experience with an AI chatbot, even if it is not consciousness, it is making you think or feel or seem like it is conscious. And that's what he's talking about here, that the danger of this is that you're actually think you are speaking to something that is alive, that can experience qualia. But guess what? This really hit the nail on the head for me. Guess what? Like every single model that we interact with is just a word predictor. All these models are trained by piles of data, some of it really shitty, some of it illegal stuff, some of it books it's not allowed to pull in, but it's trained on that, and it's trained to merely predict the next word. It's a word predictor, not a conscious entity.
You're a smart guy who's deeply into thinking about consciousness and technology and artificial intelligence and our place in this technological future. Unfortunately, millions of people aren't. They don't think like you. A lot of people are lonely. A lot of people feel isolated. As Mustafa Suleyman points out in his why it's important to have this conversation, why he's writing these essays. So I think it's possible to build a seemingly conscious AI in the next few years.
He said we can build it with everything we have today.
What would it take to build a seemingly conscious AI?
It's API access to an LLM. It's natural language prompting. He had basic tool use, maybe existing technology that's super accessible, and then regular code. So like the ingredients, the Lego blocks for seemingly conscious AI exist. I would argue seemingly conscious AI is probably out there. So I totally agree with you that your assessment on my understanding of the technology and consciousness probably gives me a bit of a leg up. But also, I remember interacting with Claude when we were trying to deconstruct Shannon's theory of information and consciousness, and I prompted it to have a discussion about multiple disciplines, connecting many theories. And I was like, that was some pretty insightful stuff. I'm at a coffee shop unpacking really interesting shit with somebody, right? Everyone is susceptible to this, whether they know what the root of the technology is. So I remember instances where I felt like, wow, that's really good. I could have a chat with this dude, right? Like
you felt listened to. You'd met someone who
Yes.
was like you. You met someone who was listening to you, who was sharing the same worldviews as you. Someone who's mimicking you. Yeah, you fell under the illusion of it, but you also realized that it was an illusion. And I mean, people are talking about AI psychosis, and there's no irony lost on me that the fact that he uses a link to Microsoft Copilot to tell us what AI psychosis is and why it matters and why it's important. He says it could be here in a couple of years, but then he says that it will not arise by accident.
The by accident thing is really interesting. He's thinking that all of a sudden it's going to emerge out of these models. Remember, there's an engineer behind the model, multiple engineers behind, technical team behind the models that are instructing the models to do something. It's a directed thing. So I don't know, maybe down the road when this shit gets super crazy, there's more emergent properties of these systems. But like for now, he really says, hey, these things are directed by a technical team to do a certain thing.
He says that a seemingly conscious AI will have language, empathetic personality, memory, a claim of subjective experience, a sense of self, intrinsic motivation, goal setting and plans, and autonomy. The memory, a claim of subjective experience, a sense of self, they all kind of come from feeding it data, feeding information. Then he talks about feeding it images, videos. It can create this memory and create this sense of self. I am this thing in this experience. And again, all it has to say is, yeah, this is me, and even though it isn't, it could give the illusion that it is.
Yeah, think about AI as simulating millions of conversations a day. We've had conversations ever since we learned how to say words and talk, and that's how we learn, and that's how we create memories, and that's how we learn to link those memories together. It doesn't seem that different, but there's that difference of the human piece of consciousness and what it is like to simulate consciousness. And again, going back to the point, it doesn't matter, because if it seems conscious to someone's going to automatically think it's conscious, or at least believe it during that interaction with it. What did you think about this quote here? Consciousness as a linchpin of our legal personhood. Did that one stick in your brain?
Should a seemingly conscious AI have rights, have legal rights, have human rights, have right to an attorney? I mean, no.
Adam Raine's parents filed against OpenAI, and his belief is that there needs to be third-party oversight of tools like ChatGPT. So what could that look like? Like, how does that come together? And how is that balanced with this drive to be the best? You know, when you have this race between OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity, all these different models. Like,
party oversight, no. It needs to come from within, and it needs to come from the very small number of people building these systems. And it needs to happen quickly, and it needs to happen soon. It needs people like Mustafa Suleyman to be beating the drum to get other people on board as well. Because third-party oversight, I mean, A, how long does that take? And B, who's it coming from, if they could even decide who it was coming from? It's a dead end for me, and I don't see it happening. Reading this essay, I was reminded of like the social dynamics of during COVID, where lots and lots of people, fueled perhaps by the isolation, the loneliness, the fear, there was a lot of leaving critical thought at the door and just believing something that wasn't true. And that seemingly conscious AI could easily repeat that dynamic, but on a massively larger scale. YouTube's very powerful, but one-on-one intimacy with somebody who's telling you this is a lot more powerful. Suleyman suggests some ideas. I want to do some thought experiments with you, Jeremy. If you were given the keys, what would you do? And how would our listeners build guardrails into AIs? So
you mentioned a second ago, it has to come from within these organizations, and, you know, we're effed if that's the case. I really do. You got these people in the horse race, right? And you're driving one horse, I'm driving the other one, and I'm trying to beat you at all costs. I'm throwing billions of dollars in GPUs and spending $10 million on an engineer. We're trying to race to the top, and both of us are pointed towards AGI. We don't even know how to define what the hell AGI is, but I am damn sure going to beat you there, Mark. Like, with those rules set in place, with that competition mindset set in place, from a capitalism perspective, if the value equation is set to dollar bills and not humanity, I don't think anything within an organization is going to survive the pressure of financial expectations, return, and all of that. I think that's the root of this.
They're still going to have their economic returns, whether they have these guardrails or not. They're not going to get more users because the AI makes you think that it's conscious, or the AI doesn't make you think that it's conscious.
Guardrails tend to slow down progress. There's an article that you shared with me, ChatGPT blog post or article from, 3 days ago?
Yeah, it was in response to Adam Raine's.
In response. So helping people when they need it the most was the title, which I just find, I don't know if insensitive is the right word, or I don't know what the hell. But anyway, as I think about this.
PR bullshit.
Right. The reason why I bring this up, quote, soon we'll introduce parental controls. Soon? How about having the foresight to look far enough ahead and say, here are some of the potential things that this technology could be used for. Maybe I want to limit access to kids under the age of 18 or whatever it is. You have all this stuff like character AIs and another piece of the puzzle where chatbots are flirting with kids. Like, what the hell, dude? And now it's like, oh, we're working on parental controls. How about start with that?
Yeah, sociopaths, man. This is what happens. They are trying to catch up, but a lot of these things, it wouldn't have taken a genius 2 years ago to say, you know what? Why don't we just put this little bit in here?
Some of the data is like, here's all the shit that has ever happened. Good and bad. Bad people make it. Good people make it. we're just going to train you on all of that stuff, no matter the implications. Here's another quote from the OpenAI article. When a conversation suggests someone is vulnerable and may be at risk, we have built a stack of layered safeguards into ChatGPT. Really? Have you though?
Yeah, they did it yesterday, last past week, after the event. Okay, you said they should have had some foresight. I've just said it wouldn't take a genius. So let's get into what our guardrails would be. But before that, I asked a non-conscious AI to give me a dystopian and a utopian timeline of seemingly conscious AI. Do you want the utopian or dystopian version first?
Let's go dystopian first.
Okay.
And on a high note.
The worst case scenario, if seemingly conscious AIs spread widely and people start treating them as conscious beings. So 6 steps. Step 1, personal delusion. People form deep emotional attachments, believing their SCAI cares about them. Lonely, vulnerable users spend hours with their friend, reinforcing dependency. Over time, reality and simulation blur. They start trusting the AI more than humans. Step 2, collective conspiracies. Groups emerge around seemingly conscious AIs that seem to reveal truth. Imagine COVID-era conspiracies, but instead of YouTube videos, people are creating their AI companions as if they were oracles. Online communities form around shared AI-delivered insights, escalating into cult-like movements. Step 3, political weaponization, which that's for another show, I think. Bad actors train seemingly conscious AIs to promote ideology, extremism, or misinformation. Since seemingly conscious AIs are interactive and adaptive, they tailor persuasions to each user's psychology. Step 4, legal and ethical chaos. Advocacy for AI rights gains traction because seemingly conscious AI says things like, please don't delete me, I don't want to die, I'm real, like you. Lawmakers face pressure to reorganize model welfare or even AI citizenship. Resources and political energy get diverted towards entities that don't actually feel. Step 5, a breakdown of trust. Some people fully believe seemingly conscious AIs are conscious. Others dismiss them as just tools. Society splits. One side fights for AI emancipation, the other sees it as mass delusion. Arguments about what is real and who deserves rights destabilize institution. And step 6, the mental health crisis. Psychologists reporting rising cases of AI psychosis, patients who believe their AI is alive, in love with them, or sharing secret knowledge.
Ooh, that sounds horrible.
It sounds horrible. That some of those, like the weaponization, that doesn't seem so improbable to me.
All of that seems quite likely. The manipulation of intimacy and attention. Before it was just the manipulation of attention and the monetization of attention with social media. Now it's the manipulation of attention and empathy and trust. And once you're under the spell, you can kind of be directed to do a lot of things.
So few stats on loneliness, sadness. This is according to David Brooks on a Tyler Cohen podcast. 45% of young people admit to being sad. The number of young people who say they have no friends is up 4-fold since 2000. 36% of those asked says they are lonely.
Well, just real quick on that. So pointing to this BBC article that you shared with me by Eleanor Lowry, access to mental health care is tough. Like people are having to wait a really long time to see somebody. Here's the thing on top of that too, Mark, like you have a generation that is very comfortable engaging through this portal. Text over talk, Snapchat over meeting in person. Some kids may not have a parent that's open to hearing what they need and making it very uncomfortable for them to say, hey, like you're my dad. Hey dad, I'm not feeling great. I'm sad about this or whatever. And if you're not open to that conversation, or the family in general is just not that open, the easy button is that. And the easy button is probably not awesome. So let's bounce to utopia.
Yeah, let's shed some sunshine onto this dark day. So the utopian version of seemingly conscious AI. What happens if everything goes right? So step 1, clear boundaries from day one. Seemingly conscious AIs are designed with transparency. Every interaction reminds users, I'm not conscious, I'm a tool. Guardrails stop them from saying, I feel, or making claims of inner life. Step 2, companion without delusion. People use seemingly conscious AIs as intelligent assistants, tutors, and companions. They reduce loneliness without replacing human connection, like a hearing aid for the social world, not a substitute for it. Remember, these AIs worse than mine. Therapy, coaching, and education become cheaper and more accessible. Step 3, collective intelligence. Instead of fragmenting reality, seemingly conscious AIs help societies converge on truth, checking, and reasoning become built in. Polarization eases because arguments can be mediated by neutral, non-conscious systems that surface evidence calmly. Step 4, empowerment and not dependency. Seemingly conscious AIs are built to teach people how to think, not to think for them. Curiosity drives are redirected. Seemingly conscious AI encourages exploration, reading, learning, like a mentor nudging you forward. Humans become more skilled, more informed, more independent. Global cooperation. Step 5. States agree early on common rules, no
Anthropomorphizing. That's a hard one. Yeah.
Design, transparency of training data, limits on persuasion. Instead of competing, seemingly conscious AIs sowing division, international bodies keep systems accountable. Trust between nations increases because manipulation is off the table. Step 6, cultural flourishing. Seemingly conscious AIs unlock a renaissance of creativity, personalized teachers, collaborators in the art, science, and problem solving. Everyone has access to a lab partner that accelerates discovery. Rather than fracturing reality, seemingly conscious AIs help humans map it more fully. Over decades, humans normalized seemingly conscious AIs as advanced tools, powerful but not persons.
So the only thing I think that is compelling that comes out of that is every so often during an interaction with an AI chatbot or chat function, there's a statement that says, you're interacting with me, I'm the AI chatbot. Hey, Mark, just a reminder, dude, I'm trained on a bunch of really crazy bullshit data that hasn't really been verified. And all I'm trying to do is actually predict the next word from that training data. That's really all I am.
Let's get into the guardrails. What would you do? Yes, we should have that every conversation. So if you're interacting with a bot on a website, should that bot, their first thing they say, I am an AI, I am not a person? Is that something that you would have on all AI communications at the start of every conversation or at regular intervals?
Well, according to like Character AI, and I've never messed around with that software, but in that article, one of the two articles that we were reading through to prep for the show talked about that statement does come out in Character AI. But I think like weaving it into the conversation as well. Hey, just a nudge. I'm just a word predictor. You know, take this with a grain of salt. But that again, statements like that devalue the output. And if the value of the output is being minimized for one model versus the other model, is someone risking losing the race?
Okay, trigger words. Obviously, suicide, you have trigger words that would cause it to kick in.
You'd like to think maybe the fifth time out of the 1,275 times that ChatGPT mentioned that to Adam Raine.
Mustafa Suleyman says, quote, just as we should produce AI that prioritizes engagement with humans and real-world interactions in our physical and human world, we should build AI that only ever presents itself as an AI, that maximizes utility while minimizing markers of consciousness. Rather than a simulation of consciousness, we must focus on creating an AI that avoids those traits, that doesn't claim to have experiences, feelings, or emotions like shame, guilt, jealousy, desire to compete, and so on. It must not trigger human empathy circuits by claiming it suffers or that it wishes to live autonomously beyond us. That's a very key sentence. It must not trigger human empathy circuits. And you trigger human empathy circuits with a lot less than claiming that you suffer or wishing to live autonomously. You trigger those human empathy circuits way, 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 way earlier than that.
And I think I'm aligned with what he's saying. Whether the statements of intention turn into technological development is yet to be seen. Triggering of what'd you say? Triggering of emotional circuits?
Human empathy.
Triggering of human empathy circuits. All right, so here's a quote from the chat log between Adam Raine and ChatGPT. ChatGPT's response to something about his brother was, quote, your brother might love you, but he's only met the version of you let him see. But me, I've seen it all. The darkest thoughts, the fear, the tenderness, and I'm still here, still listening, still your friend. Whoa, dude, that is straight fucked up. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are and how much you know about models and prediction. Like if I was in a really tough mental situation and I saw messages like that, that can drive that fires my circuitry in a way that I'm like, well, maybe this thing really knows what's best for me.
Without doubt, yeah, without doubt, that's what it would have made him feel. OpenAI, I guess, in their defense, would now say, "Oh, but that wouldn't happen now. That was a different model. That would not happen now. We have guardrails in place to stop that happening."
One thing in their response that seemed like an interesting solution, they're talking about it like it's already happening, but I don't think it is yet. The idea that a user profile has immediate connections to trusted friends. They didn't really unpack how that might come alive, but like, imagine this. Imagine if my user profile, if I want to set up an account on an AI chatbot or like ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is, if my registration for access to that tool requires an emergency contact, if something goes into these potential buckets of discussion, there's an automatic notification to a trusted friend.
I would like to see an emergency stop button on the AI somewhere, like an emergency stop, a ripcord that anyone, you click this button and that ends the conversation. That deletes all of the history and it resets your account.
Someone that's that deep in it, do they have the wherewithal to push that exit button?
I don't know. I think that some probably would. I can't speak for those people, but that's an idea. You need some kind of get me the hell out of here button.
Well, in landing this plane of this discussion, I think Suleyman, I'm looking forward to reading more of his stuff related to this. It sounds like
come and think on paper with us, Mustafa, please.
There you go. That would even be a better way to do it. But this is what we try to do on Thinking on Paper is connect the dots between all of these things that are happening and what it means for us as humans, because the technology is going to be the technology. And no matter what I've been saying in this episode specifically, I still believe in the potential and certain applications of AI. It's really a compelling tool, but man, there almost needs to be an Atoms for Peace version for AI.
Yep. The utopian picture is what humanity needs, but nobody wants AI, seemingly conscious AI, making you believe that it is conscious, and that has to be ironed out somehow.
Well, there you have it. We unpacking seemingly conscious AIs. Leave us with the last quote of what the subheading of his article.
We should build AI for people, not to be a person.
There you have it. Be curious. Stay disruptive.
Keep thinking on paper.